Hey there, A's Day fans. Welcome to our Monday edition of our show. I'm your host, Joe Grotto. I want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by to hear our thoughts on everything athletics baseball. Today is Monday, August 17th. We've got a good show for you. We're going to start Happy Podcast today as the A's took care of business. They took 2 out of 3 to conclude the homestand on a high note. They win over the Texas Rangers. We'll be sure to recap how it all went down, hand out our 3-star awards as well. From there, we'll discuss We'll do a little bit of housekeeping as we do have some guys coming in. We do have some guys heading to the injured list. Tyler Soderstrom, he's back on the 10-day injured list with that hip impingement, which bothered him and flared up earlier in the year. And then in terms of transactionally, Jonathan Ornelas was traded, and Joe Rock was acquired from the Chicago White Sox off claiming waivers. Later in the back half of our show, we're going to take a look at the updated top 30 prospect list for the A's, which was updated at the end of last week. And before we get on out of here for the week, we're going to preview the A's next opponent, as this time it's a 4-game set. They're kicking off, hitting the road to Kansas City to take on the Royals. We'll be sure to dive into all of those matchups and make our predictions. And at the end of our show, as promised on Friday, we are going to play the sights and sound of one question with left-handed pitcher Gage Jump. What a nice guy. It was an amazing opportunity last Thursday. Now you'll all have the opportunity to hear from him yourselves as well. Let's get to it. Holy Toledo. Let's go A's.
Lace up the spikes and grab the pine. Check the card and watch the line. The green and gold is looking brand new with a young car ready to break through. Batter up, let the story begin. We're counting every strike, every win. It's A's Day. Tuning in to hear the play. It's A's Day. Sacramento leads the way. It's A's Day. The future's bright. The kids are fast. Building something built to last. It's A's Day.
All right there, A's Day fans. Thank you so much for tuning in to our Monday edition, or whenever you're listening to this edition of A's Day. We appreciate all of your support. All right, let's jump right into the series recap of what went down over the weekend at Sutter Health Park. They were coming off, the A's, a rough start, losing to the homestand, losing 3 in a row to the Rays. Perhaps a weekend series with a familiar foe would help get them back in the win column. Let's take it back to Friday night in West Sacramento as the A's would kick off the first of 3 at Sutter Health against the Texas Rangers. Game 1 featured a pitching matchup of Kumar Rocker going for the Rangers. He'd be squared up with A's left-hander Gage Jump. Jeff McNeil in this one, he would go 4 for 5 with 3 RBIs, including the go-ahead home run, as the A's snapped a 3-game slide with an 8-3 win over the Texas Rangers. Lawrence Butler also went deep for the A's, who have lost, at that time, 12 of their last 15. A hit batter, a single, and a walk loaded the bases for Carlos Cortez in the first inning, and he drove a 1-2 slider from Rocker to right that emptied the bases and gave the A's an immediate 3-0 lead. It took until the 6th inning for the Rangers to respond. Jake Berger worked the count full and hit a 428-foot, 3-run home run to left center that tied the game and ended Gage Jump's start for the A's. Jump went 5 1/3 innings in this one and allowed 3 runs on 3 hits while walking 4 and only striking out 1 after coming off a start that saw him strike out 11. McNeil got the A's back in front with a 400-foot homer, his 5th of the year. It was a home run in every MLB ballpark per StatCast. Butler tacked on a 411-foot shot in the 7th to double the A's lead, and 3 more came across in the 8th. 4 relievers combined to give up 1 hit over 3 2/3 innings of work, including Luis Medina, who earned the win in this one. Texas was held to 4 hits and were 1 for 5 runners in scoring position. Chase Silseth took the loss after allowing 1 run in 1 inning of work. So, great way to start the weekend, obviously, collectively. Gage Jump, again, that's all you can ask from your rookie. Does he give you an opportunity when he takes the ball? Does your team have a chance to win? Absolutely. That's the feeling I always have had and will continue to have, unless he makes me think otherwise for some reason, if he takes a tailspin or anything like that. But now we've got 15 starts under his belt, and I've got to say, for the grand collective of them, he's made more good starts than bad, without a doubt. And in this one, he makes the one mistake to Berger. Up until that point, he was putting up 0 after 0 through those first 5. Looked like he was breezing through once again. Was really pitching more to contact in this one because he only had the one strikeout. And perhaps maybe he wanted to change up his pitching style a little bit so he can give his team an opportunity to work deeper into a game and maybe take some of the pressure off of the bullpen. So it got him into the 6th inning. He gives up the mistake to Berger, which ends his day. But then the A's had that immediate response from Jeff McNeil, who had a heck of a day. He went 4 for 5. He had the home run. He had 2 doubles. He ended up being a triple shy of the cycle. And one of those doubles, his teammates were joking that he should have gone for it. I think he would have been thrown out by quite a bit. But you never know how the nuances of baseball go, that perhaps that even it seemed like a sure out if he went for 3. You never know when a ball might kick away. You never know, he might slide around the tag. Baseball has its funny quirks that way. I would have loved to see him go for the cycle, especially at that point. Had a pretty significant lead, and I know no lead is safe, especially with the roller coaster up and down nature of this A's bullpen. But nevertheless, it's a great day for McNeil, led the charge. But getting back to Jump, it wasn't as crisp in this one. He was falling behind hitters, especially earlier. But again, he bulldogged his way through, gave his team an opportunity to win. While he didn't factor into the decision, he definitely supplied a great foundation to give this A's opportunity to win this game and to start the series on the right note. The offense, they went 9 for 33 in this one, 7 walks against 8 Ks, a much better ratio. 2 home runs. They did go 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position, so perhaps they could have had an even greater advantage in this one. But nevertheless, they put up 8 runs in this one. They win by 5. Good start from Jump for the most part. The bullpen does its job. Luis Medina picks up the win in this one. And also, Carlos Cortez, he really got the offense started right away. And that's something that I don't think has necessarily been a massive problem for this team over the grand scheme, over the long haul of the season. I think their bigger problem is normally they do all their scoring in the first or second inning, and then they coast the rest of the way. I think on purpose. Maybe these pitching staffs are making the proper adjustments. Maybe the A's are trying to do too much adding on. But whatever the case may be, it seemed like a lot of those times they would jump out to a lead and then allow that other team to hang around, give them an opportunity to inch their way back into it. And a lot of times, more times than not, they have been just because of the volatility of this A's bullpen. But not tonight. The A's did a great job. This is a great collective team performance. In the process, they snap a 3-game losing streak. And also, how about Lawrence Butler making the A's Day home run prediction come true right away? Appreciate you. We believe in him. We talked about in our last show how he's really been heating up over the last month or so. Specifically, I think we had stats breaking down his last 2 weeks that see the massive increase in extra base hits and the improved patience at the plate as well. What you're seeing from Lawrence Butler right now is great. You're seeing a confident hitter. You're seeing someone that's being a leader, especially when a lot of their core guys are on the shelf right now due to injury. Butler has been stepping up over these last couple of weeks in multiple aspects. So good to see that there. Carlos Cortez, like I said, that first thing, he gets the offense going right away with 3-0. They never really, so get the 3-0. But then they let Texas hang around. Again, they didn't add on until Texas tied it up. But thankfully, that's been the difference. See, a lot of games previously, it would have gotten tied 3-3. Texas actually took the lead 4-3. But then, they tied it up 3-3. I'm getting my games all mixed. And then the A's had an answer right away with the Jeff McNeil home run. And then they added on again later with the Lawrence Butler home run. So I think those were key moments that we hadn't seen a lot from this offense over the last several weeks or so. Good job by the Green and Gold, setting themselves up to succeed by grabbing the first of this 3-game set. Let's see if the A's took advantage and won this series this past Saturday, as we were treated to a pretty good pitching matchup on paper. Mackenzie Gore going for the Rangers, going up against JT Ginn. Wyatt Langford, he would go on to hit a go-ahead 2-run home run in the 6th inning, and the Texas Rangers would rally back to beat the A's 5-3 on Saturday night to end their own personal 4-game losing streak. Corey Seager, Nicky Lopez, and Jared Kelenic each drove in a run in the Rangers' 22nd comeback victory of the season. Mackenzie Gore threw 5 2/3 innings. He allowed 3 runs on 8 hits. Henry Bolte was the only offense in this one for the Green and Gold when he hit a 3-run home run in the second inning. It was initially called a foul ball. Replay review showed that the ball scraped the outside of the foul pole. Lopez would go on later to single to center for the Rangers' first run of the game in the 5th, and Seager added another RBI single in the 6th. Langford then launched a 421-foot shot to left center on the next pitch to give the Rangers a 1-run lead. Kelenic drove in one more in the 9th as a pinch hitter to get us to our final score of 5-3. 3 relievers for the Rangers combined for 3 1/3 hitless innings, and Jacob Latz worked 2 frames for his 24th save. For the A's, Bolte was 3 for 5 with his homer and a double. The 6-3 hit game for the 23-year-old rookie. JT Ginn gave up 4 runs on 8 hits and struck out 7 in 6 innings of work. Didn't walk anybody. So this is what I was talking about just a few moments ago. It seemed like back to the status quo. Again, exciting. A's jump out to that 3-0 lead on the bat of Henry Bolte. It's 3-0. We got JT on the mound. Got Gore on the ropes. But then you let Gore hang around. You let this Texas team hang around. They would go on, it was 3-0 through 4 innings. A's didn't really add on, really have many they didn't take advantage of the opportunities they had to add on. 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. That's it. You cash in maybe even just 1 more of those opportunities. Let's say 2 more of those. If you go 3 for 8 instead of 1 for 8 runners in scoring position, don't think that's asking a whole lot. Might be the difference in the ball game. But why not take a page out of the previous night's script and keep that positive momentum going? Now, I know it's easier said than done. I know they're trying on the other side as well. But this one was tough because it felt like they were going to get control of this one. They had all that momentum of the way that game ended on Friday night. It seemed like it was going to be more of the same. And then we were going to start having a conversation, and I know better late than never, and be like, where's this offense been? Well, the offense reared its ugly head once again. And again, not picking on them. I know they don't have as many reinforcements to the point that they were down to 1 available player that could be added to the 26-man roster in Dal Hernandez, just because that's how many guys they have injured currently on the 40-man roster. So they're short-handed. I'm not picking on them, just telling it like it is. These are still professional hitters at the end of the day. Do your job situationally, and the game gets a bit easier. And in fact, hitting situationally doesn't even always need to be getting a base hit. Sometimes, especially if it's early in the first half of the game, teams might be playing back and giving you that run. So sometimes all you have to do, hit a ground ball to shortstop, you get another run. Even easier than that, with all the love of the launch angle in this game, man on third, less than 2 outs, all you have to do is hit a fly ball. Doesn't count against your average, you get an RBI, and the team increases the lead. If you need that benefit for giving a team at bat, which I don't feel like there are guys like this on this team. I'm just speaking generally. But then after 4, the A's, they could have knocked out Gore. They let him hang in there, and the Rangers offense went to work. They rallied for 1 in the 5th and then got 3 more in that 6th. Then they would add on 1 in the 9th to get him that much-needed insurance run. Take a little bit of stress off Jacob Latz. Yeah, again, in this one, he went 6 innings, allowed 8 hits, 4 runs, no walks, 7 Ks. So I think his control was good. I think he was almost throwing too many strikes at one point. I know that's crazy to say, but I feel like hitters were getting ample opportunities to do damage, especially towards the tail end of Ginn's start. I feel like his sinker started getting a little bit more elevated. Earlier in the game, he was still consistently getting ahead of hitters, and I think that started to fade a little bit in the 5th. And hey, that could be fatigue. He's a young pitcher. It's been a long season. And he's still kind of technically building his way back from the injured list. I know this is his 3rd start back since his IL trip. But nevertheless, it's still, you're going to feel differently on different days. It's not always going to be perfect. Is this his best start? No. But this is a start you can win. You go 4 runs over 6 innings. You're telling me as an offense you can't score 5 runs? You scored 8 last night. I know. Again, easier said than done. But all I'm saying is, yes, was this Ginn's finest performance? Absolutely not. But it wasn't one where it was a dreadful one. He did a lot. There's a lot of things that he did well in this one. He really just got mainly burned again. The home run, I know it still counts just the same as all of them. But it seems like just like Jump a night ago, he makes one mistake. And it's with runners on base. That's what the Rangers did to get even in the series. They did damage with runners on. 3 for 6, the Rangers were runners in scoring position. That's the difference in the ball game. See what I was saying earlier? A's were 1 for 8. Rangers 3 for 6. Rangers won by 2. Now, I know it's not always going to lay out smoothly and evenly that way, but in this case, it does. And I think situational hitting is something that has evaded this team for the majority of the season with all the moving parts. But I think at some point, guys trying to do a little bit too much. So we're not going to hone on the runners in scoring position too much longer on this show. But that's certainly a theme that we're going to revisit when we do our season review. Because that's something that definitely needs to vastly improve if this team wants to chalk up this year as the injury bug, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And let's just make sure this isn't heading towards a sinking ship to the point of needing a rebuild for the rebuild. Not there yet. Not even close, in my opinion. I know it may seem that way by their record, but if you read between the lines, any team that would sustain the number of injuries to their core, to their pitch, if you were going, think about this. If you were going through your season for the majority of it without your 1, 2, 3, 4 hitters, without your ace, your number 2's on the IL right now, your number 3 was in AAA, you figured it out. Your number 4 was supposed to be in the rotation, but something's gotten out of whack. He's still trying to figure out in AAA. I mean, what can you expect? Most teams would not be able to withstand that. Even the Dodgers are struggling right now. I think they've lost, 7 of the last 9? And look at all the talent they have. I'm not saying they'd be in this bad of a spot, but you're telling me if the Dodgers are going out there without Freddie, Mookie, Shohei, and let's just say Pajes, whatever, their 4 top hitter, and Muncy, let's just say, at different points throughout the year, you're telling me the Dodgers would still be running away with the National League West? You're telling me the Dodgers would still be considered the World Series favorite this year once again if they had all those injuries? I don't think so. Would I count them out? No. But I think their path, you can see how much of a struggle they're going through right now, and that's just the ebbs and flows of a season. Dodgers would be just fine. But I'm using them as an example that even them, if they were sustaining this high volume of injuries, and they have to their pitching rotation at times, but not their lineup. The A's have had a little bit of everything. And also Zach Geloff missing time here and there as well. Didn't include him in that. You can only expect so much, and it's really hard to get a full gauge on where this team truly is at until they're whole. When's that? 2027. Well, whenever baseball comes back. Anyway, that's going to be a future topic of discussion. But definitely it just was a reminder of the struggle that this team offensively has been going through for quite some time. We got a glimmer of hope the night before, scoring 8 runs, doing a little bit more damage of the extra base hit variety, and this kind of goes by the wayside once again. They only get those 3 runs early, and they were shut out the rest of the way. 8 for 31, and 8 for 34 is an offense in this one. 3 walks against 7 Ks. And of those 8 hits, it wasn't a collective performance. 5 of the hits were from 2 guys. 3 from Bolte and 2 from Alika Williams. So that's not much support there. So taking that into consideration too, I think did a fine enough job to keep his team in the ball game because he wasn't getting much offensive support, without a doubt. This was a tough one to lose, especially having that 3-run lead early. But nevertheless, they now would have to switch their attention for the rubber match of this 3-game set, which was played yesterday, a little daytime baseball in West Sacramento. to determine the series victor. Cody Bradford will be getting the ball for the Rangers going up against A's left-hander Jacob Lopez. In this one, Zach Geloff and Lawrence Butler each hit 2-run home runs, and Tommy White, had his first Major League home run, and the A's would go on to beat the Rangers 5-2. The A's won their first home series since June 12th to 14th in Vegas, and first series in West Sacramento since April 20th to the 30th. That's unheard of. It's August. It's really been that bad, huh? We're still smiling here at A's Day somehow. Over that stretch, they were 0-12-1 over the previous 13 series at Sutter Health Park. I didn't even realize that until I was diving into the schedule and seeing it. I knew that I heard on the telecast that some streak had been broken, especially when they were wrapping it up in the post game. But then I revisited him. They haven't won in West Sacramento a series since the end of April. We're midway through August. Just goes to show you how tough this season has been. And the fact that they've been winning the majority of the games on the road. I'm sure, well, we won't get into that. Just, how people are, still upset, rightfully so, of course, being ripped out of Oakland and moving to West Sacramento for 3 seasons. But I'm sure those A's fans that didn't follow the team to West Sacramento are laughing somewhere. Seeing how this team is performing, okay, decent. I don't know about the last few weeks or so as a collective. I'd have to dive back in. But over the long haul of the season, the A's have been a much better road team than at home. Clearly. It's just mind-boggling to me. It's just been a weird type of season. It's just trying to wrap my head around it. I'm collecting my thoughts as we go through these series over the last few weeks of the season. But just seeing that really stopped me in my tracks. That they were 0-12-1 in their last 13 series at Sutter Health Park. No wonder they are where they are. No wonder they went from being in first place to a half game out in the middle of June to where they are now, battling in the basement with the Angels. But Jacob Lopez in this one, he struck out 6 and gave up 2 runs on 5 hits in 6 innings for his. He didn't factor into the decision, but certainly puts up another quality start. 4 no decisions in a row. In this game, after Jake Berger hit a solo home run in the second to put the Rangers ahead, Lawrence Butler would respond with a 394-foot homer that wrapped around the right field pole to give the A's the lead. Berger drove in a second run for Texas on a force out in the third. He would finish the day 3 for 4. Shortstop Jacob Wilson nearly had his major league record errorless streak ended 114 games in the fourth after he misplayed a grounder, but the play was scored as a single. And I saw it. Absolutely should have been scored as single. It was one of those in-betweeners. He tried to barehead it to get a fast runner moving down the line. Wasn't in the cards. They didn't have to change the scoring of that. They gave it a hit right away. Again, that was the right call. Zach Geloff, he put the A's back in front in the 7th, hitting a 403-foot homer of his own off Jacob Junis into the Rangers bullpen in right center. And then Tommy White would go on to hit the first of his career in the 8th to give the A's a 3-run cushion. White, a 2024 second-round pick, debuted back on July 17th. It was the A's 10th-ranked prospect. Hogan Harris would go on to lock down the 9th with 2 strikeouts for his 12th save of the season. So Jacob Lopez, he's money again. Like we were talking about, that 2.38 ERA over his last 5 starts got even lower. Covers 6 innings, another quality start, and unfortunately it doesn't factor into the decision in this one. He was getting ahead of hitters. He's attacking with conviction. You can see just the way his posture is on the mound. He's standing taller. He's working quicker. When you see that, that's a lot of what we saw last year. When he's working efficiently, he's working at a good pace. That's when hitters, they're getting all stuck in between with his time where he's mixing with his fastball, his breaking stuff, his changeup. He just looks like a lot of what we saw last year and maybe slightly improved. His command is getting better and better. Only 2 walks in this one. The strikeout pitch is working 17 out of 24 first pitch strike. That's pounding the zone, and that's making it uncomfortable for an offense all afternoon. The confidence is definitely back, and he seemed to get stronger and sharper in this one as the game wore on. Because, in fact, he actually had those 2 walks by that 3rd inning of work. Didn't give out any free passes from there. It seemed like for a little bit that he was going to perhaps battle through this one, just like Jump did the other day. But no, Lopez really, he's such a delight to watch as well. When he gets into a rhythm, he starts cruising. He lets out that grunt at the release point after each pitch. And it seems like he's just going to either blow it by a hitter because of his unique, it seems just the way, his deceptiveness, the way he hides the ball well. And it seems like it explodes to the plate with his delivery, that I feel it's a joy to watch Lopez pitch. And my confidence is all the way back in him. It didn't waver too much early in the year. Because again, we keep getting back to this point. That I remember before he got called down, we were talking about it here. That he should accept an assignment to AAA. Because baseball is all about adjustments. And it's never going to be a straight line. It's never going to be smooth sailing. The best hitters in baseball, maybe not as much anymore, hit 300 or better, which means you're failing 70% of the time. Baseball is a game of failure. On the pitching side of things, you're going to be at the top of your craft with your mechanics all intact and confidence brimming at one point, and then perhaps at another point, where I'm sure Mr. Jacob Lopez was during the struggle, where he doesn't feel like he can miss any bats, where he doesn't feel like he's going to get anybody out, and it just seems like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. You know what that is? That is the pure nature of a baseball player. The ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys that baseball players battle every single day at the ballpark. That's what makes it amazing with the guys that especially do it for such a long time. Yes, it's physically demanding, but it's just as, if not more, I would say actually it is more mentally draining and more. There's a lot more of the intellect side of this game that I feel is necessary for the guys to not get too high, not get too low, but then those that are also able to make those adjustments along the way. And Jacob Lopez, I can't commend him enough. That's 6 good starts in a row now. I'm not going to jinx him. I think he's on the right track, though. That's where I'll leave it as. I feel a lot more confident in that, but I don't want to jinx him. But Jacob Lopez was good in this one. Money. Gives his team an opportunity to win this one. Didn't end up getting the decision in this one because I believe they took the lead later on in this game after his departure. I believe right in the 7th is when they took the lead, of course. That's how it goes. But offense was definitely more productive today as a collective after I was getting on a little bit for their Saturday performance. Much better today, and Sunday, 13 for 34, 3 walks, 5 Ks. So putting a lot more balls in action in play. They were 1 for 6 runners in scoring position, but here's the difference. They were doing damage with runners on base. I believe it was 2 2-run home runs and a solo home run, which accounted for all of the A's offense, actually, now I think about it. So as long as you're doing damage and connecting those at-bats, 2 2-run home runs. Now, if it's 3 solo home runs, you can come back from that. But there's something about when there's a little bit of, there's some sort of traffic on the base paths that each one that you get breaks the back of the opponent a little bit more. Now, it only ended up being a 3-run game, and this was a very competitive series. But the A's did just enough. Lawrence Butler, he's heating up. Speaking of this offense, you could tell. You know, I was talking about with Jacob Lopez, with his confidence returning and seeming like he's found something that's worked and he's clicking and he's rolling with it. Well, you can kind of see the same thing from Lawrence Butler. He hits 2 home runs in the series. You could start to see that, and I think his numbers could have been even better in this series. He hit the ball hard right at some people. Earlier in the year, there wasn't conviction. There was a lot of being in between, guessing pitches. And he didn't really seem to have his legs underneath him. And it makes you wonder. Because we're seeing Lawrence Butler. This is the Lawrence Butler I thought we were getting. And he had a bit of a disappointing year last year, even more so in a bigger way this year. But I wonder if the recovery from that knee procedure has taken a little bit longer than the public has been made aware. Because the knee, the legs are everything in hitting. Majority, anyway. I mean, you need your whole body, but you know what I mean. I mean, without your legs, good luck. I know there are some guys that have that elite upper body strength, but for the majority of hitters at all levels, you need your legs to drive the ball all over the field and out of the ballpark. And if you're not at 100% and that knee is needing a little bit more time to heal, of course, you're not going to be getting off your A swing. You're going to feel a little bit imbalanced in the batter's box. And with those two factors going against you, you're going to lose your confidence. And then you're going to start guessing. And you're going to start not wanting to swing or have these check swings or being late on off-speed pitches or taking fastballs that are in very hitter-friendly locations, whatever the case may be. Lawrence Butler was very much in his head the first half of this season. And like I said, I'd have to talk to him to know what all was going on. Perhaps that would be a conversation even after the season, because I'm sure Butler wouldn't admit, yeah, I've been battling something, because I think, from my perspective, I think that's more than fair of a reason for the struggle. Because personally, I've dealt with lower body injuries, and I know it would have effect on my power when I was playing. So I can only imagine when you're playing every single day and only getting a certain amount of time to recover, that your body, it recovers for a little bit, and then you grind it down that following night right away. So if he wasn't 100% and it took some time, you could see it in his numbers. He was hitting under 200 for 2 months, and now he's lacing the baseball all over the ballpark. Is it a health thing? Is he tweaking mechanics? I'd love to learn more about what's going right for Butler right now, because what I'm seeing a complete 360 in the best way possible. I see someone that's balanced in the box. I see someone that's convicted with his pitch. And I see someone that's being a leader too, and someone that's being more joyous in the clubhouse and the dugout. Because, of course, he's a competitor, Butler, and he wants to make a difference for his team. But with the struggle, you can see when things aren't going right, he gets reserved, he gets quiet, and it seems to really spread into all aspects of his game. So, good to see things are turning around for Butler over these last 2.5 weeks. Let's see what he has in store to kick off this week. But definitely has been a driving force to help this A's team get off the mat just for respectability and to end this season on a higher note than what they've been going through for the majority of the summer. Then now with the win, they've now won 2 of their last 3 series. So again, this is something else we were touching upon. At this point, we understand postseason isn't a possibility, but you want to stack as many wins as you can with the guys that are here. Because for the large part, these guys are going to be back next year. And I know they're going to get all these reinforcements back too as well. But you want these guys that are here to get these quality at-bats, to get these reps in the field. You want your pitchers to fine-tune their mechanics, because you're the second worst. You have the second worst ERA across all baseball once again. And I understand some of that's the nature of the environment of Sutter Health Park. But you find yourself basically in the same spot pitching-wise that you did last year. Now, I do think they have more promising younger pieces, I think, that have been answering the bell, like a Gage Jump and a JT Ginn. But in terms of pitching depth, I think we haven't really developed nearly as much as we developed the position player side of things. So hopefully that's a work in progress. Congratulations, Tommy Tanks in this one. He hits his first career home run in the show. And it was funny. The teammates initially gave him the silent treatment when he got into the dugout. And he started going crazy. He was like all pumped up. And then they rallied around him and got him. I love that tradition. Because the guy knows it's coming too. Because, in fact, it has the opposite effect. When you're ignoring someone, especially on your team, as a collective, that means you couldn't be happier for the guy. And it was awesome. It felt like a weight lifted off his shoulders. He's definitely got his fair share of hits, but not a ton of extra base hits. So it was good to see him drive one to right center. Hopefully that's the first of many come for Tommy Tanks. And it was good to see Zach Geloff back as well. He produced, hitting an important 2-run home run to give him the lead. And I believe it was back on Friday night. He worked his way on base 3 times via the walk. So good to see Geloff's influence. He's basically right back in it. It hasn't really missed a step. and he's definitely been a welcome sight in a lineup that has had a lot of interchangeable parts. Good all-around team victory in this one, on their way to secure the series victory by taking 2 out of 3 this past weekend against the Texas Rangers. So happy pod without a doubt. The A's win another series. Hopefully they can keep stacking those and build momentum for the 2027 season. All right, let's hand out our 3-star A performers. Our 3rd star, we're going to give it to right-handed reliever Luis Medina. He ended up collecting both victories in terms of the pitcher that got the winning pitcher of record. It was Luis Medina twice. He went in both appearances combined. He went 2 in the 3rd innings, allowed 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, 4 Ks. I think those were both crucial parts of those games that helped the A's win those games, but also win the series as well. So that's why he gets our 3rd star. Our 2nd star is going to right fielder Lawrence Butler. He went 3 for 12 in the series, but he did a lot of damage with those 3. He had 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, and 2 runs scored, and I believe he only struck out once over the 3 games, so certainly something that he's been cutting down on. And then our 1st star A's performer is center fielder Henry Bolte. He went 6 for 14 in the series with a home run, 3 RBIs, a double, and 3 runs scored as well. Those are our 3 A's star performers from their series victory over this past weekend against the Texas Rangers. A's improved to 49-75 following yesterday's victory, and they look to keep the winning baseball rolling at the start of a new week. But first, let's do some housekeeping and get to some injury and transactional updates. So first, real quick, like we mentioned at the top of the show, Tyler Soderstrom, he's back on the injured list. The A's lose another slugger when they placed Sodey on the 10-day injured list on Sunday with a left hip impingement. The 24-year-old Soderstrom is batting .245 with 19 home runs and 56 RBIs in 109 games this season. He set career highs with 25 home runs, 93 RBIs, and a .276 batting average in 158 games last year. So this is the same injury that flared up for Sodey earlier in the year, which had him land on the 10-day IL. Missed a couple weeks. I wonder what they'll do this time around and the severity of the nature of the injury. If it is more severe than last time, I don't think they haven't provided any update. And I don't want to say it, but with the update that we got the other day or last week with Nick Kurtz most likely being done for the year because they don't want to put these young stars in harm's way, especially when the postseason hopes are in the rear view. Maybe they do the same with Soderstrom as well. Not that he wouldn't be around the team or anything like that, but for his sake, especially, it's the same injury twice now in the matter of a couple of months to ensure that it doesn't grow into anything more significant. And we'll keep you updated as we hear more throughout the week. But I wouldn't be surprised, all I'm saying. So keep that in mind. Another injury. It just seems like it's never ending in 2026. All right, let's get to a little more housekeeping here transactionally. So if you didn't realize Jonathan Ornelas was on the team, well, he's been traded to the Milwaukee Brewers. They agreed to a minor league trade on Saturday, with the A's sending Jonathan Ornelas to Milwaukee for cash considerations. Ornelas was playing with the A's just last week, which makes this a somewhat unique move. Players who have already been selected to a 40-man roster typically can't be moved after the trade deadline, which passed August 3rd. Ornelas, however, was designated for assignment and elected free agency earlier this week. He then re-upped with the A's on a minor league deal. Ornelas hasn't been on a 40-man roster under this current contract, so he's allowed to be traded under those conditions. The 26-year-old Ornelas appeared in 6 games with the A's. He picked up 2 hits and a dozen at-bats. He also struck out 7 times. Ornelas has put together a strong season at AAA between the Yankees and A's affiliates. He's posted a 128 WRC plus with 11 home runs and 11 stolen bases across 81 games. Ornelas hasn't hit much in his career, even in the minors, heading into this season. His real value for the Brewers is his defensive versatility. He's spent time at every infield position except first base as a big leaguer. Ornelas also has made occasional appearances in the outfield. The utility man has been a neutral defender or better at every spot except second base. Brewers manager Pat Murphy leaned back in his chair Saturday to tell a story. It was the early 2000s, and his oldest son Kai was playing on a 9U team for Murphy's Sandlot baseball program in Arizona for a team so good it had trouble finding opponents. A 10U team from the west side of Phoenix called the Stealth stepped up, a club stacked with future big leaguers Nolan Gorman and Matthew Liberatore. But their best player was an infielder whom Murphy knew only as Johnny Rockets. His name was Jonathan Ornelas, and as of Saturday, he was on Murphy's team. Because he's moved around so much and played mostly off the bench, Ornelas' parents had never seen him start a big league game. That changed this past Saturday, now a member of the Brewers, when Marcial and Cruz Ornelas were on hand at Dodger Stadium with their son, Jonathan, now a member of the Brew Crew. So best of luck, Jonathan. I know his stint in West Sacramento was rather short. That is the nature of a journeyman utility man. But I'm sure the Brewers will get the most out of him. And best of luck for him to be able to prepare to help get that team to clinch a postseason berth and go well beyond that. All right, another transactional piece. The A's announced yesterday that they've claimed left-handed pitcher Joe Rock off waivers from the Chicago White Sox. They quickly optioned him to AAA Las Vegas. To clear a 40-man roster spot for Rock, the team transferred right-hander Justin Sterner to the 60-day injured list. The White Sox designated Rock for assignment 3 days ago after a 3-month stint in the organization. He appeared in 4 games from June 13th to the 24th, allowing 4 earned runs in 10 in the third innings with 12 strikeouts. Rock also allowed 11 walks in that sample, and he also hit 2 batters and threw a wild pitch. Largely due to those control issues, the lefty had a 5.65 SIERA and a 6.84 expected ERA in his limited action, putting his true talent several runs higher than his 3.48 ERA. The results haven't been much better at AAA. In 32 2/3 innings for the Rays and White Sox top affiliates, Rock has a downright dreadful 6.89 ERA and 18.1% walk rate. To his credit, he has an excellent 28.1% strikeout rate and 50.6% ground ball rate in the minors. Opponents are also batting .407 on balls in playoff Rock, which is untenably high. Poor batted ball fortune is only a partial explanation for his struggles, as Rock has simply allowed too many base runners for his strikeout and ground ball tendencies to make a meaningful difference. For now, there's little harm in the A's stashing Rock in Las Vegas as a depth piece. The big league bullpen ranks 19th in the majors by strikeout rate at 21.6% and 28th by ground ball rate at 38.4%. Rock could theoretically help in both of those areas, though he'd obviously need to get the walks under control in order to stick long term. He posted much more manageable walk rates of 5.7% and 9.3% in 2024 and 2025, respectively, so perhaps there's room for positive regression as he gets settled at AAA. Sterner's move to the 60-day injury list was expected after he underwent season-ending right surgery 2 days ago. He was a pretty decent bullpen arm last year as he tossed 65 innings with a 3.18 ERA and a 18.4% K to walk rate. Sterner kept that up through his first 34 innings this year, but he imploded in his last 7 1/3, allowing 13 earned runs in that time. As a result, he'll finish the season with an ERA over 6 and having allowed 2.32 home runs per 9 innings. He figures to return when healthy next season. So hopefully the A's can develop Joe Rock into something in their minor league system. But again, like we mentioned before, it's a depth piece. No harm, no foul there. And Justin Sterner, get well soon. It seems like another guy going under the knife. Can't wait to see these guys all whole, all healthy next year in 2027. With these guys that are out for the rest of the season earlier on in the year, perhaps they're getting their rest now and can get a jump on next season a little bit earlier with less tracks on the tire. So trying to take something positive out of it, but nevertheless, it just seems like the hits keep on coming. And welcome to the organization, Joe Rock. Best of luck with the AAA Aviators, and hopefully we see you in the green and gold in West Sacramento sooner rather than later, because the strikeout stuff and the ground ball stuff would be well received. Now we got to develop and make sure he's in and around the strike zone a lot more consistently. All right. Let's take a look as we move along. Let's head on down. Speaking of AAA Las Vegas, let's head on down the farm, and we're actually going to go organizational wide and talk about the updated top 30 prospect list for the A's. Last week, the new top 100 MLB prospects and top 30 for each MLB club were released. We're going to take a look at the A's updated top 30 list. So still at the top at number 1 is Leo DeVries, shortstop, third baseman. He is the number 2 prospect in all of baseball out of the top 100. The A's number 2 prospect, and he was drafted this year, is outfielder Drew Burress. The number 3 prospect for the A's is left-handed pitcher Jamie Arnold, who's also now the number 27 prospect in all of baseball. 4th on this list is Joshua Kuroda Grauer, second base shortstop. Guess he hasn't played enough games to exceed his prospect status. He has arrived already. Yohensy Colome is 5th on this list. He's a shortstop. He's not expected until 2031. The A's 6th prospect is left-handed pitcher Wei N. Lin. He's expected in 2028. The 7th prospect, outfielder Devin Taylor. He's expected in 2028 as well. The A's 8th prospect is left-handed pitcher Mason Edwards. I believe he was drafted this year. He's expected to be at the big league club in 2029. Same thing with the 9th prospect, Brayson Guedes. He's an outfielder. He's also expected to arrive in 2029. 10th on this list is Tommy White, first base, third baseman. Obviously, you know, he's already arrived. 11th prospect for the A's is Gabe Gackle, right-handed pitcher. Number 12 on the list is Jacob Dudon. He's expected in 2030. The A's number 13 prospect is shortstop Edgar Montero, also expected in 2030. Number 14 on the list is right-handed pitcher Cade Morris, who we saw earlier at the big league level earlier this year. Number 15 on the list is right-handed pitcher Braden Nett, who's expected to be called up at some point this year. Maybe he'll be a September call-up. The A's number 16 prospect is their two-way star in the making, Shotaro Mori, second base and right-handed pitcher. He's expected in 2029. Number 17 on the list is Steven Echevarria, right-handed pitcher. He's expected up next year. Number 18 prospect is shortstop Roman Martin. He's expected up at the big league club in 2029. Number 19 prospect is right-handed pitcher Henry Baez. He's expected up later this year. Number 20 on the list is catcher Davis Diaz. He's expected in 2028. The number 21 prospect is Junior Tur. He already arrived this year. The number 22 prospect is Cole Kahn. He's a catcher. He's expected up next year. The number 23 prospect is Zante Taylor, right-handed pitcher. He's expected up next year. The number 24 prospect is right-handed pitcher Kenya Huggins. He's expected up next year. The number 25 prospect is Nathan Detmer, right-handed pitcher, also expected next year. Number 26, Darwin Ozuna, outfielder. He's expected up in 2030. The number 27 prospect is Bobby Boser, a third baseman, second base shortstop. He's expected up in 2028. The number 28 prospect is Jackson Finley, right-handed pitcher. He's expected up next year. The number 29 prospect is shortstop Ali Camarillo, has not been assigned an ETA. And the number 30 prospect is right-handed pitcher Gunnar Hoglund, who already arrived last year. So excited to see. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the future of tomorrow coming up through the organization. I think the A's have done a pretty good job, obviously, with developing position players. Now, let's see what they can do developing some of these young pitchers that are on this list, because we need to supplement this roster with pitching depth to get this team back on track and to properly usher in the next championship era of A's baseball. You can't be so one-sided on the offensive side of things, and you can't be toward the bottom half pitching things. It's not going to work. Like, unless your offense is out of this world, even then in the postseason when you're facing the best of the best pitching, usually it's the best pitching and defense that are going to make that deeper run as compared to just the slugging offense. So hopefully we see as many of these guys as possible over the next 2 to 3 years. We're seeing the A's graduate a lot of their prospects, which is definitely exciting. And a lot of them have made a positive impact. So looking forward to those guys getting experience the rest of this year. And looking forward to seeing these guys on this list ascend their way up the A's organization and make a name themselves. Well, by the time that a lot of these guys might be up, is going to be in Las Vegas. Time will tell there. All right, let's get to the A's next opponent to kick off a new week of baseball action. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by Visit Mesa. Welcome to Mesa, Arizona, a destination for every season. Experience a destination where adventure, culture, and culinary experiences are limitless. As the gateway to the stunning Sonoran Desert and Tonto National Forest, Mesa invites you to explore its scenic waterways, kayak through winding canyons, or paddleboard along the Salt River. For a one-of-a-kind desert adventure, ride the waves at Revel Surf at Cannon Beach, the country's first surf park of its kind. Downtown Mesa is a vibrant hub, home to the Mesa Art Center, public art, award-winning breweries, and local shops. Food lovers can explore the Fresh Foodie Trail and the diverse flavors of Mesa's Asian District. Sports fans can experience MLB spring training with the Chicago Cubs and Athletics, or visit one of North America's largest youth sports complexes. As the world's first autism-certified city, Mesa is dedicated to accessibility and inclusivity for all visitors. All right, before we get on out of here, well, we got a couple of task items to attend to. We're getting to the back half of our show. The A's coming off a strong finish to the homestand by securing the series victory against the Rangers. The A's are back on the road and are set to start the first of 4 later tonight, slated to take on the Kansas City Royals. The Royals come in with a record of 51-74 and are led by manager Matt Quatraro. In their last series, they won 2 out of 3 against the Angels. They won Game 1 7-6, lost Game 2 1-0 before winning yesterday before the complete game 1-hit performance from left-handed pitcher Noah Cameron. All right, let's get to know this Royals team, kind of their style of play, and how things have been going. The Royals currently sit in 5th place in the AL Central and during a highly frustrating, injury-plagued campaign that has taken them out of postseason contention. Despite the Major League team's struggles, August has brought intense optimism regarding their core young players in a newly re-ranked farm system flush with high-end teenage talent. So first, the injury epidemic and roster movement. Injuries, like we mentioned, have completely derailed the Royals' consistency. They're in the same boat as the A's, forcing several core infielders out of action simultaneously. Star shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. missed significant time in late July and early August with lower back tightness. First baseman Vinny Pasquantino and third baseman Michael Garcia have been sidelined for weeks, though both are currently finishing up rehab assignments and nearing an immediate return. The starting rotation has been decimated by arm injuries. Cole Reagans underwent season-ending left elbow surgery, while starters Stephen Kolek and Luinder Avila were both sidelined for Tommy John surgery. In response to these missing arms, the Royals recently signed veteran right-hander Tony Gonsolin to a major league deal with an eye towards stabilizing their 2027 rotation. The Royals find themselves playing in tight, low-scoring environments due to their distinct statistical splits. So their starting pitching, the ERA ranks elite. They're starting pitching right in the mid-3s as a collective. The starting rotation carries this team, heavily limits walks, and forces zone contact. The bullpen is highly volatile, ranking low to mid-tier, unreliable, past core leverage arms, prone to giving up late home runs. The infield offense is top-tier, Silver Slugger caliber, driven by premium run production from Witt Jr., Pasquantino, and Garcia when all are healthy, as well as Jack Caglione. The outfield, or that was infield. I got that twisted because Caglione's primarily a right fielder, but right now, because of Pasquantino's absence, Caglione's been playing a lot of first base. Now, in terms of outfield offense, they rank in the bottom tier. There's an extreme lack of power and on-base presence from that position. And then the base running has been very conservative this year, which is very un-Royals-esque. More station to station, with weak base stealing outside of select speed threats. It's not typically what really makes the Royals go. So you can see a lot of reasons why they've been struggling this year. The Royals have a tale of two stories lineup. Their infield features elite offensive production anchored by franchise shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. alongside third baseman Michael Garcia, Vinny Pasquantino, who is in the process of returning from a hamate bone fracture. However, the outfield rotation ranks near the bottom of MLB in run production, providing opposing pitchers an easy escape route in the bottom half of the order. They do approach with a low strikeout, low walk approach. As a unit, the Royals do not strike out excessively, displaying decent bat-to-ball skills. However, they struggle heavily to draw walks, ranking among the lowest in the league in on-base percentage. Opposing pitchers can aggressively attack the zone without fearing a highly patient lineup. Aside from the premium speed of Witt Jr. and Garcia, the Royals lack depth and dynamic base running. They do not heavily employ the stolen base as a structural weapon, making them reliant on sequential hits to string runs together. They do offer that when healthy, they have a playoff caliber starting rotation. This is the absolute backbone of the 2026 Royals. Left-hander Cole Reagans were anchors at the front end and is incredibly consistent, along with veterans Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha, who they'll both face off against in this series. Back-end stability from Chris Bubic, which was earlier in the year before he ended up getting moved to the Dodgers. And, of course, breakout rookie Noah Cameron, coming off a one-hit complete game performance yesterday, gives the Royals 5 highly competitive arms that reliably work deep into games and keep the team ERA relatively low. This is a big problem, the punchless bullpen. While the starters hand over winnable games, the bullpen is a massive liability outside of a few high-leverage arms like Carlos Estevez and Lucas Erceg. Volatility from depth arms has plagued their close game efficiency. The defining scouting trait of the entire pitching staff is low walk rates. Royals pitchers force opposing batters to earn their hits, minimizing free passes and relying heavily on a fundamentally sound defensive alignment in front of their home crowd. And of course, we've been treated to Jack Caglianone's surge. The standout rookie has been magma hot through August, injecting massive power into a depleted lineup and emerging as a true long-term cornerstone. The young catcher Carter Jensen is seeing heavy developmental reps in the leadoff spot and behind the dish, showcasing excellent patience and ranking 20th in the MLB in pitches seen per plate appearances. Their style of play is defined by a stark contrast between an elite playoff caliber starting rotation and a top-heavy infield offense that struggles heavily with outfield production and bullpen volatility. All right, let's see how they rank offensively. The Royals, they come into tonight's action hitting .242 for a team batting average, which is 17th in baseball. They've hit 126 home runs, which is 24th. They've scored 513 runs, which is 23rd. They've walked 382 batters, which is 27th. They struck out 994 times, which is 7th least in baseball. And they've hit to a .703 OPS, which is 23rd. On the mound, they've pitched it to a 4.78 ERA, which is 28th. They've walked 461 batters, which is 24th. They've struck out 925 batters, which is 28th. And they've pitched to a 1.41 whip, which is 28th as well. Defensively, this is where they excel along with their starting pitching. They're fielding at a .987 fielding percentage, which is tied for 8th in baseball. And their 56 errors committed is 10th. Here is how, with the current injuries, is how the Royals lineup currently stacks. They are led off either by Nick Lofton or Carter Jensen, depending on who is pitching on the day. Batting second, the shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr. Batting third, the first baseman, Jack Caglianone. He also plays, his primary position is right field, but in the absence of Pasquantino, he's been playing a lot of first base. Batting fourth, the catcher DH, Salvador Perez. Batting fifth, the right fielder, Starling Marte. Batting sixth, the catcher designated hitter, Carter Jensen. Or it's Nick Lofton, depending on the pitching matchup. Batting seventh, the second baseman, Michael Massey. Batting eighth, the left fielder, Isaac Collins. And batting ninth, the center fielder, Kyle Isbell. Player batting orders typically fluctuate, like we mentioned, based on the opposing pitcher's throwing arm, with bench players like Josh Rojas and Tyler Tolbert regularly rotating into the infield mix. All right, let's get an idea of when these game times are for first pitch and the starting pitching probables. So tonight is a 4:40 p.m. Pacific time first pitch since they are in Kansas City. Mason Barnett will be going for the A's going up against Royals right-hander Michael Wacha. Tomorrow night, Tuesday, also a 4:40 p.m. Pacific time first pitch. Jack Perkins will be getting the ball for the A's going up against Daniel Lynch IV. Lynch IV is an opener, and Jack Perkins is looking to get the first win under his belt in his last 12 starts. Game 3, Wednesday, is also a 4:40 p.m. Pacific time first pitch. Gage Jump will be getting the ball for the A's going up against Royals right-hander Seth Lugo. And then the fourth and final game of this 4-game series will be an early one for us. It's a day game in Kansas City, 11:10 a.m. Pacific time first pitch. JT Ginn will be getting the ball for the A's. They'll be going up against Royals right-hander Randy Dobnak. All right, let's get to know who these A's hitters will be faring up against as we look at the Royals' probable starting pitcher scouting reports. So game 1 starter is Michael Wacha. He's a right-handed pitcher. On the year, he's made 24 starts, pitching to a 5-8 record with a 3.46 ERA and 150 2/3 innings pitched. He's walked 41 batters, struck out 117, and has pitched to a 1.15 whip. In his last start against the Dodgers, he went 6 2/3 innings, allowed 7 hits, 3 runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Wacha is having a highly effective season as a pillar of the Royals starting rotation, earning an all-star selection and serving as a reliable mid-rotation workhorse. Despite a deceptive 5-8 record, largely influenced by poor run support and a weak bullpen, his advanced metrics paint the picture of a veteran executing at a very high level. Wacha utilizes a deep, modern 6-pitch mix to keep hitters entirely off balance, relying on sequence and deception over raw velocity. He works with a 4-seam fastball, which sits at 93.1 miles an hour, topping out near 97. It features average velocity and a slightly fly ball heavy profile. His changeup is his elite signature weapon. It's thrown with a circle grip at 81 miles an hour and mimics his fastball release before showing devastating late fade. His cutter sits at 89 miles an hour, used primarily to jam left-handed hitters and generate soft contact. His sinker averages 93, mimicking his 4-seam velocity, but offering downward action to generate a 41.7% ground ball rate. His curveball is a slow 76-mile-an-hour looping option, used to steal early strikes and alter hitting timing. His slider sits at 85 miles an hour, acting as a horizontal bridge pitch, though his breaking run values remain his primary area for structural improvement. Some of his profile metrics and approach rely on his elite command. Walker ranks poorly in raw stuff plus metrics, 11th percentile, but his pinpoint command allows him to live on the edges and mask below average velocity. Deceptive chase rates. Hitters are chasing out of the zone at a career-high 34.6% rate, which ranks in the 83rd percentile according to Baseball Savant, because his fastball, sinker, and changeup look identical out of the hand. In-zone hesitation. Opposing batters show significant passivity against him. His in-zone swing rate has dropped to just 61.2%, allowing him to steal cold strikes at an elite level. Waka is the definition of an innings eater. He has completed 6 or more frames in 18 of his 24 starts this season. He enters the end of this month perfectly healthy, or the middle of the back end of this month healthy, and consistently turning in quality starts, including his most recent outing back on August 11th against the Dodgers, where he fired 6 2/3 of strong pitching. As for Game 2 starter, it's going to be a little bit different. It'll be Daniel Lynch IV. On the air, he's appeared in 48 games. 2 of them starts because he is going to be an opener. He's gone 4-4 in the year with a 2.88 ERA, 50 innings pitched, 14 walks, 40 strikeouts, and a 1.02 whip. In his last start as an opener against the Dodgers, he went 2 1/3 innings, allowed 3 hits, 3 runs, no walks, 3 Ks. Lynch IV has undergone a major career transformation, transitioning into a highly effective modern multi-pitch weapon for the Royals. While he spent the first 4 months of the 2026 season flourishing as an elite, high-leverage reliever, catastrophic injuries to the Royals starting rotation forced management to move him back into the starting rotation as an opener. Lynch has completely reworked his pitch prioritization, moving away from his previously ineffective four-seam fastball in favor of a heavy sinker and slider combination. His sinker sits at a blazing 94.6 miles an hour. The pitch features heavy natural sinking action that drives a superb 49.7% ground ball rate. His changeup is thrown firmer than standard left-handed changes at 86. It dives hard out of the zone to generate ground balls. His slider ranges around 87 miles an hour, acting as his primary swing and miss offering, grading out with significantly more vertical bite and whiffs than the league average. His four-seam fastball maxes out 95 and has been minimized to a secondary element to avoid giving up hard contact high in the zone. His knuckle curve is a hard 12-6 breaking ball, clocked at 81 miles an hour, used sparingly to alter hitter timing. The foundation of Lynch's breakout campaign rests on dramatic, organic improvement in his stuff rather than a singular dominant skill. Stuff plus surge continues. After spending his career registering below average pitch metrics, Lynch's overall stuff plus has spiked to an elite 107. Unlike many pitchers who lose control when their pitches get nastier, Lynch maintains an above-average location plus status. He commands a low 6.9% walk rate. He has mastered weak contact. Opposing batters are managing just a tiny 4.3% barrel percentage against them, enabling an elite 199 opponent batting average. Due to desperation for starting depth, the Royals shifted Lynch to the rotation on August 7th. He is still working to build up his stamina, as he is strictly capped on pitch counts while being stretched out. His first 2 starts were rough adjustments lasting 1 2/3 innings and 2 against the Cubs and 2 1/3 innings against the Dodgers. So we'll see if he maintains his opener status or if perhaps they're going to push him a little bit further in this one, perhaps 3 or 4 innings. Game 3 starter is right-handed pitcher Seth Lugo. On the year, he's made 25 starts, going 5-7 with a 4.59 ERA. And 139 1/3 innings pitched, 46 walks, 108 strikeouts, and a 1.38 whip. In his last start against the Angels, he went 4 2/3 innings, allowed 7 hits, 5 runs, no walks, 4 Ks. Lugo comes in with a profile of an experienced, volume-driven veteran right-hander who relies on an exceptionally deep multi-pitch arsenal and sequencing rather than elite velocity or high strikeout rates. With his repertoire and sequencing, he comes at you with the kitchen sink. Lugo features a rare 8-pitch arsenal, including a 4-seam fastball, sinker, cutter, slider, slurve, sweeper, curveball, and changeup. His fastball sits mid-90s, but his primary weapon remains pitch mix variety and manipulating spin to induce weak contact or ground balls. He aggressively uses a high-spin curveball and changeup to neutralize left-handed hitters, while leaning on horizontal movement profiles like the sweeper and slider against righties. Some of his strengths include plus durability. At 36 years old, Lugo remains a reliable workhorse capable of eating innings and completing high-quality start, leading the team in games started. His elite double play generation, he heavily relies on his defense and sequencing to escape trouble, ranking among league leaders in grounded to double plays induced, 17 of them. One area of concern for Lugo, he is vulnerable to giving up some hard hits. Because his raw stuff doesn't grade out highly on pure pitch metrics, any failure in location or sequencing results in hard hit contact and high hit totals. And we will get to know now Game 4 starter who will take the ball for the Royals on Thursday. It's right-handed pitcher Randy Dobnak. On the year, he's appeared in 8 games, 6 of those starts. He's pitched to a 2-1 record with a 1.73 ERA, 41 2/3 innings, 16 walks, 25 strikeouts, and a 1.38 WHIP. In his last start against the Angels, he went 5 2/3 innings, allowed 4 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 6 Ks. Dobnak has emerged as a revelation for the Royals, who have been desperate for starting pitching due to the injuries, as he has pitched to a 1.73 ERA over 41 2/3 innings since being acquired. He is heavily outperforming his underlying metrics with an old-school, contact-oriented approach that relies on disrupting a hitter's timing. Dobnak manages a 5-pitch mix utilizing heavy movement rather than high velocity. His sinker sits at 91 to 92 miles an hour. It serves as his primary weapon, featuring heavy sinking action designed to generate extreme ground ball rates. His sweeper sits around 82. This has become his principal 2-strike offering, generating a team-high 35.5% whiff rate. His changeup clocked at 85 miles an hour. It acts as a highly efficient worm killer that drives cleanly out of the strike zone. His four-seam fastball averages 92 to 93, kept primarily high in the zone to change the batter's eye level. His slider sits at 84 miles an hour with short glove side cut. Some of his strengths focus on elite ground ball profile. Dobnak excels at keeping the baseball off the barrel. He relies on soft contact, generating ground balls at a rate well above 45%. He's good at timing disruption. He changes speeds and locations seamlessly, keeping hitters completely off balance. His deep game efficiency, when his changeup is working, he cruises through lineups early by filling up the strike zone quickly. Some red flags and weaknesses to work on: an unsustainable walk rate. He is currently sporting a 3.5 walk per 9 rate. This high frequency of free passes signals regression could be looming over a longer sample size. A low strikeout ceiling. He does not boast elite punch-out capabilities. He remains heavily dependent on precise defensive positioning behind him. He is vulnerable that third time through the order. The Royals management actively avoids letting Dobnak face heavy lineups a third time in a game, often pulling him before the 6th inning concludes due to previous history. All right, so those are the 4 starters that the A's hitters will be going up against in this series. Let's see how these A's hitters have fared in the past in prior meetings. So against Michael Wacha, Jeff McNeil lifetime is 4 for 9 with a double and a walk. Lawrence Butler is 3 for 7 with a home run and a walk. Jacob Wilson 3 for 8 with a double, and Carlos Cortez 2 for 4 with a walk, and Jonah Heim 2 for 8 with a walk. Against Lynch IV, Heim is 1 for 2 with a double and a walk. Butler 1 for 1 with a home run, and Jacob Wilson 1 for 2. Against Seth Lugo, Zach Geloff lifetime is 4 for 9 with a home run and a double. Brian Servin is 1 for 3, and Lawrence Butler is 1 for 5 with a double. And then against Randy Dobnak, only one A has faced him previously, and that's Jonah Heim, who went 0 for 2. As you watch this 4-game series, here are some 3 Royals players for you to keep an eye on. They are led, of course, by their all-star franchise shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr. He's hitting .282 on the year with 14 home runs, 43 RBIs, and an .802 OPS. Next up, to watch out, the second Royals player to watch is right fielder, first baseman, Jack Caglione. He's hitting .272 on the year with 22 home runs, 58 RBIs, and an .815 OPS. And then finally, keep your eye on catcher Carter Jensen. He's hitting .219 on the year with 16 home runs, 56 RBIs, and a 700 OPS, but he's been a catalyst at the top of the Royals lineup as of late. All right, as we move along, it is prediction time. We are going to make our A's home run prediction. We're going to stick with it. We think we're going to ride the hot hand, just like if it's done to Spat. Once again, we are going to select Lawrence Butler to homer at least once in this 4-game series. He's homered 4 times in his last 5 games. And he's got some decent enough history in prior meetings with at least 2 of these pitchers. So I like my chances there. I think the Law Dog is making his way back. He's swinging confidently, especially with 4 games to hit one. I see him losing at least 1 baseball. And as for our series prediction, we are going to predict that this series is going to end up with a 2-2 split. We believe the Royals will win tonight 5-3 and tomorrow 6-5 before the A's rally back to tie the series by winning 6-2 in Game 3 and then on Thursday, 8 to 3. All right, before we get on out of here, we want to leave you with the sights and sounds of the interview with Gage Jump. We had the opportunity last Thursday to visit Card Vault by Tom Brady in Sacramento. It's right in the heart of Doco. It's a cool place. If you're into collecting baseball cards, they have a bunch of events coming up, it seems like, the rest of this year, and have plans for more next year. But we had the opportunity last Thursday. They were hosting Gage Jump, who was going to be there for an hour. He was signing photos and taking pictures. And the other reason why I wanted to go up there and reel it was to be able to ask him a question for you, the lovely audience. So hope you enjoy hearing from the lefty sensation, Gage Jump, as we are going to play it right now. All right, we're here with Gage Jump, left-handed rookie sensation. Appreciate your time today. We know how much you value, all ball players value their off days, so appreciate you taking the time to be here for the fans. It's a joy watching you do 14 starts. I make sure not to miss one of them. Every fifth day is a joy, so thank you for bringing that to West Sacramento. What would you say the transition from minor league baseball to major league would be like in terms of the plan to get hitters out? Because obviously I'm sure it's like one thing to hear about and then to see it. What's something that maybe you've seen?
I think the scouting reports are better. At least in AAA, there's not as much on those guys. Mm-hmm. Where here, like, you know exactly what the offense is going to do. So the scouting reports are better. Yep. But the hitters, more mature. They control the zone a lot better, I think. Yeah. But ultimately, it's still the same game. So.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. Best of luck, and looking forward to your next time out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed, because with that brings us to the close of another edition of A's Day. On today's show, we were so fortunate to recap a happy podcast. Again, the A's took 2 out of 3 over the weekend to win their second series out of the last 3 tries. Hopefully a stronger second half is on the horizon. Looking forward to seeing how this road trip kicks off in Kansas City. We'll be back behind the mic for Friday's show as we recap what goes down against the Royals. We'll be sure to share any other A's news that comes across our desk, as well as previewing their next weekend matchup where I believe they're heading down to Houston for a 3-game set for the weekend. Hope you enjoyed hearing from Gage Jump. Hope we have the opportunity to perhaps have a longer sit-down interview with him. Gage, if you're listening, you're always welcome on A's Day, whether it's in person or over Zoom. Would love to make it happen for our lovely audience to get to know the brilliant left-handed pitcher that you are. But more importantly, it seems like the genuine good person was very welcome, very open, and was more than happy to answer a question for us here at A's Day. So, hope you're able to kick off your week enjoying all of the A's action this week. I don't believe there's any days off. So the next 7 days, or at least the next 6 days, the next 7 days, I'm sorry, there's going to be nonstop. It's 7 days, yeah. Next 7 they play 7 games in a row. That is going to be nonstop A's baseball, 4 with the Royals and then 3 with the Astros. Hope you're able to enjoy as much of it as we can. Do think especially in Kansas City, it's a good opportunity for this A's team to get some wins in the win column. But I know Houston, they're in the thick of the AL West battle at this point. They always play well, it seems like, as of late down in Houston. Why not start to play a little bit spoiler a little bit early this year? But we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves. First, got to take care of business in Kansas City. Looking forward to enjoying all of the A's action. We'll see you here at the same spot for Friday's show. And hopefully, it's another happy podcast talking about an A's series victory. That's all I have for you today. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Grotto. Thank you for starting your week with us here at A's Day, hearing our thoughts on athletics baseball. Take care. Have a great week. And until our show on Friday, holy Toledo, let's go A's.
Lace up the spikes and grab the pine.